When I first met Emily, she had this way of making me feel like an outsider, even when she was smiling at me. We worked in the same office, and what started as casual chats over coffee breaks slowly turned into something more. She was charming, witty, and sharp-tongued, and I was flattered when she agreed to go on a date with me. But one night, after a few glasses of wine, she laughed and said, "You'll never meet my family. They'd never understand someone like you." Her words cut deeper than she realized. She brushed it off as a joke, but I never forgot it. For her, family was everything, a dynasty of wealth and influence in our city. For me, family meant late nights my mom spent waiting tables and a father who worked construction until his hands cracked. I wasn't ashamed of where I came from, but she made it clear that I wasn't on her family's level. Still, we dated for almost 2 years. There were good moments, weekend trips, secret smiles at the office, small gifts she said reminded her of me. But whenever the topic of meeting her family came up, she'd change the subject or make another sharp joke about how I wouldn't last 5 minutes in her parents' house. Eventually, the weight of being kept a secret wore me down, and I ended it. She didn't fight me on it. Just shrugged and said, "I told you it wouldn't work." I moved on. At least I thought I did. Years passed, and I built a stable career of my own, slowly rising in a different company. I bought a modest but comfortable house, reconnected with old friends, and even began to enjoy my solitude. Emily faded into a memory, until the night I got a message out of nowhere. It wasn't from her. It was from her brother. The message came late in the evening, just as I was shutting down my laptop. The name on the screen made me pause. Daniel Walker. I barely remembered him. Emily had mentioned her older brother a few times, usually with an eye roll, calling him the responsible heir of their family. His text was short. "Hi, this might sound strange, but we need to talk. It's about Emily. Could you call me?" I almost laughed. After years of silence, after the way Emily had dismissed me, suddenly her family wanted to hear from me? I stared at the message, debating whether to ignore it. But curiosity got the better of me. I called. Daniel's voice was calm, but I could hear something strained behind it. "Thank you for calling back. I know this is unexpected. The truth is, Emily spoke about you more than you might think." That caught me off guard. "Really? That's not how it felt." He sighed. "I believe you. But listen, our family is going through something. And Emily insisted that if anyone could help, it would be you." I couldn't stop the bitter laugh that slipped out. Funny, because the last time I saw Emily, she said I'd never be part of her family. Silence stretched on the line. Then Daniel said quietly, maybe she was wrong. I leaned back in my chair unsettled. Something was going on, something big enough for Emily's proud family to swallow their pride and reach out to the man they once considered beneath them. And I had no idea yet just how tangled I was about to get in their world. The next day, I agreed to meet Daniel. We chose a quiet cafe downtown, one of those places with dim lighting and too much jazz playing in the background. When he walked in, I recognized him instantly. Same sharp jawline as Emily, same air of someone raised to believe the world bent around him. But he didn't look untouchable that morning. He looked tired. His suit was wrinkled, his tie half loosened, and when he sat across from me, he rubbed his forehead as though carrying the weight of something enormous. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I'll get straight to the point. Emily, she's in trouble. Our whole family is actually, and we need your help." I raised an eyebrow. "With what? I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, and I doubt I'm the kind of miracle worker you're hoping for." Daniel gave a short, humorless laugh. "No, but you are different. Emily always said you had this way of seeing people for who they really are. She said you never played along with the pretenses, and right now, that's exactly what we need." Hearing that Emily had spoken about me like that stirred something old in my chest, something I thought I'd buried. I tried to brush it off. "So what's the actual problem?" He hesitated, scanning the cafe as if making sure no one was listening. Then he leaned forward. "Our father's company is collapsing. We've kept it quiet, but soon the whole city will know. And Emily thinks you might be the only person who can convince someone important to step in before it all goes under." I stared at him, incredulous. Years ago, Emily's family wouldn't have let me through their gates. Now they were begging me to save them, and I wasn't sure whether to laugh or walk away. I sat back in my chair, studying Daniel. The audacity almost made me choke on my coffee. "So let me get this straight. I said slowly. Your family spent years pretending I wasn't good enough. Emily laughed at the idea of me even meeting you. And now you're asking me to save your empire. Daniel didn't flinch. I know how it sounds. But Emily was right about one thing. You're not like the people in our circle. You don't owe anyone fake smiles. You say what you mean. That's exactly why the investor we're trying to approach might listen to you. He hates our kind of people, but he might listen to someone like you. It was absurd. Part of me wanted to get up and leave. Another part, some wounded, stubborn part, wanted to hear more. Why me? I pressed. Why not Emily herself? Daniel hesitated. She can't. She's burned that bridge already. That answer left more questions than it solved, but before I could push further, I heard my name. I turned, and there she was. Emily. She looked different, yet not at all. Still elegant, still composed, but there were faint shadows under her eyes, and her smile, when she gave me that small, hesitant smile, wasn't mocking anymore. Hi, she said softly, as if the years between us hadn't stretched like a canyon. Thank you for coming. And just like that, the past rushed back in. Every laugh, every wound, every night, I told myself I was done with her. Only now, she was the one who needed me. For a moment, I couldn't find words. Emily stood there, clutching her purse strap like it was a lifeline, and for the first time, she didn't look like the woman who once seemed untouchable. She looked human. Emily, I finally said, my tone sharper than I intended. Didn't you say your family would never want me around? Her eyes flickered with guilt. I did, she admitted quietly. And I was wrong. Daniel cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the tension. I'll give you a moment. He slipped away toward the counter, leaving us alone. Emily sat across from me, her perfume familiar and jarring all at once. I know I hurt you, she said, her voice steadier now. Back then, I thought I was protecting myself. My family is complicated. I thought if I kept you separate, I could avoid the fights. But in doing that, I destroyed what we had. I wanted to scoff, to remind her of the years I spent feeling like I wasn't enough. But instead, I asked, so why now? Why drag me back into this? She hesitated before answering. Because they'll listen to you. Because you don't play their games. And because whether you believe me or not, I trust you more than anyone else. Hearing her say that sent a strange shiver down my spine. I should have walked away. I should have told her that whatever mess her family had made wasn't mine to clean up. But a part of me wanted to see just how desperate they really were. And another part, one I didn't want to admit, wanted to know why Emily still looked at me like I was the only person in the room. We left the cafe with a plan that felt more like a hostage negotiation than anything else. Daniel walked beside us, talking in clipped sentences about investors and ledgers and damage control. Emily kept glancing at me, like she was measuring whether I was still the same person she dismissed years ago. Here's what you need to understand, Daniel said as we climbed into his car. Our father borrowed against everything after the merger fell through. There are liens on properties we don't even own outright. If word gets out, creditors will come, partners will pull out, and the board will fold us. There's one man, Leonard Hale, who hates performative charity and fake prestige. He funds projects he thinks have real grit. He might consider rescuing us if he believes the product has merit and the people behind it are honest. He hates press conferences. He hates ceremonies. He listens to people who tell the truth. I wanted to ask why they hadn't flown to him months ago. Instead, I asked what I always asked when some stranger requested my help. Will you have that's worth saving? We have a division that actually builds things, sustainable housing projects that are profitable if you stop pretending they're just PR exercises, Emily said. We've been sitting on 2 patents and a pilot community that, if properly presented, could turn the company around. But our board won't stop polishing numbers for the quarterly calls. They only care about optics. Leonard wants grit, not optics. He might listen to someone he believes is genuine. This time when she said genuine, her eyes met mine without flinching. I felt something like old warmth and something like raw accusation. You used to think I'd never be good enough to meet them, I said. Now you want me to make them believe in you. She swallowed. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I only ask for a chance to fix it. For all of us. I told them I'd hear Leonard out, but made no promises. I wasn't interested in being a savior for a family that had once made me invisible. I was interested in one simple truth, whether the project was real. If it was, I'd back it, because I believed in the work, not because some privileged name asked me. They drove me to the pilot site that afternoon. The neighborhood on the edge of town was a contrast to the marble towers I associated with Emily's family. Practical houses, clever use of salvage materials, a community garden, solar panels, young families painting fences. The project manager, an earnest woman named Anna, led me through a unit and spoke like she was defending her life's work. These units last longer than the models the city used to approve, Anna said. They cost less, require less maintenance, and the residents organize to keep them running. If this model scales, it helps both sides, housing and profit. Watching Anna and the way the neighborhood hummed, I felt something shift. This wasn't a PR stunt. It was work. Real work. And the board's reluctance now looked less like prudence and more like cowardice. On the drive back, Emily reached for my hand. I let her, but only for a moment. There were still questions that deserved answers, about why influence had mattered more than results, about why she'd laughed at me when I wanted to belong, about whether she'd changed. She didn't pretend to know how to fix what she'd broken with words. She offered actions instead. Meet Leonard, Daniel said when we pulled into the city. If he says no, it's over. If he says yes, there's a lot to do and we'll need you. I agreed to call Leonard, but I made it clear on the way home that I was not a pawn and not a political favor. They looked relieved and terrified at the same time. That night I sat in my kitchen and replayed the day. Part of me was furious that they'd ever thought themselves superior. Another part, quieter, felt cautious, like a bruise that throbbed when touched. I stared at Emily's message. She'd texted 3 words, "Thank you. Please." And realized I was no longer sure who owed whom what. The next morning, Leonard's assistant answered on the first ring. Leonard Hale wasn't the kind of man you called casually. His assistant sounded brisk, almost suspicious, when she asked how I knew him. I gave her the truth, I didn't. But I'd seen his work, and I respected it. That, surprisingly, was enough to get me a meeting. The following afternoon, I found myself standing in front of Hale Industries' glass tower. Leonard was known for being blunt, impatient, and brutally fair. If he thought you were wasting his time, he would cut you off in 30 seconds. Emily and Daniel waited outside the building like nervous students about to defend a thesis. Emily clutched a folder of documents, while Daniel kept checking his watch. I almost laughed at how different they looked from the perfect image I remembered. When we were finally ushered into Leonard's office, I understood why they were nervous. The man behind the desk radiated power without a word. Silver hair, sharp suit, and eyes that seemed to strip away any falsehood in an instant. "So," he said without preamble, "you're the one who insisted I meet. Speak." I felt Emily tense beside me, waiting for me to fail. But I didn't talk about their family legacy, or their father's empire, or the money. I told him about Anna, the project manager. About the housing community, the families thriving there, the gardens, the resilience. I described what I had seen, the grit, not the gloss. For a long moment, Leonard said nothing. Then, finally, he leaned back in his chair. "You," he said, looking straight at me, "aren't lying. That's rare." His gaze flicked toward Emily and Daniel. These two, I'm not so sure about. Emily's cheeks burned, and I felt a sharp twist of satisfaction. But then Leonard's words turned unexpected. "I'll consider funding. On one condition. You oversee it. Not them. You." The room went still. Emily's lips parted as though she wanted to protest, but no words came. And for the first time, the power had shifted entirely to me. Daniel was the first to break the silence. "With respect, Mr. Hale, this is our company. My father." Leonard cut him off with a wave of his hand. "Your father's pride nearly sunk it. I don't invest in pride. I invest in competence. And right now, competence is sitting across from me, not beside you." Emily glanced at me then, her expression unreadable, part wounded, part relieved, part something I couldn't name. "I didn't come here looking for control," I said carefully. "But if I'm involved, I won't be a figurehead. If I do this, it's because I believe in the work, not in saving a last name." Leonard's lips curved into something like approval. "Good. Then we understand each other." The meeting ended with no promises, just possibilities. Outside, Daniel was seething. He jabbed a finger toward me. "This is exactly what I warned about, Emily." You dragged him into this, and now we're being pushed out of our own company." Emily's voice was quiet but steady. "Maybe being pushed out is what we deserve. We've been clinging to the image, not the work." Her words shocked me almost as much as they angered Daniel. He stormed off, muttering curses under his breath. Emily stayed behind. "Thank you," she said softly. "I know you didn't do it for me. But still, thank you." I studied her for a long moment. "Don't thank me yet. Leonard hasn't signed anything. And even if he does, this isn't about redemption. It's about proving the work is real." She nodded, but her eyes lingered on me with that same look she used to have years ago, like I was the only one who could see her clearly. And I hated how much part of me still wanted to believe her. As I drove home later, my phone buzzed. A new message from Leonard's assistant. "Mr. Hale is prepared to move forward, but only under the condition previously stated. Awaiting your decision." I stared at the screen, knowing that if I said yes, my life would be tied once more to the very family that once laughed at me. Sleep didn't come easy that night. I kept staring at the message, turning it over in my head. If I accepted, I'd be stepping into the heart of everything I once swore I'd left behind: Emily's world, her family's name, their endless games. But if I refused, that housing project might die, and with it the chance to make something real for people who actually need it. By morning, I'd made my choice. I texted back one word: yes. The following weeks moved fast. Papers were signed, contracts drafted. Leonard funneled money into the housing division, but only through me. Every report had my name at the top. For the first time, I wasn't the outsider trying to fit in. I was the gatekeeper. Daniel hated it. He tried to undermine me in meetings, calling me unqualified, a fluke. But numbers don't lie. The project flourished under new funding, construction doubled, and even skeptical board members began to shift their tone. Emily was different. She didn't fight me. Instead, she worked quietly at my side, almost like she was trying to prove to me, not Leonard, not her family, that she could change. One late evening, after everyone else had gone, I caught her lingering by the office window. "You're better at this than any of us ever were," she admitted. "And I hate that it took losing everything to see it." Her honesty disarmed me. "And yet, here we are," I said. She gave a small laugh, the kind I remembered from before it all went sour. "Here we are." For a moment, it felt like the years hadn't happened, like we were just two people again, not the mess of family names and broken pride. But I reminded myself, this wasn't about rekindling anything. This was about building something that mattered. And then, just when things seemed stable, Leonard dropped a bomb. He wanted me, not Daniel, not Emily, to present the project at the upcoming City Development Summit. A stage where the entire business community, including their father's old rivals, would be watching. Emily's family had once laughed at the idea of me ever being in their world. Now I was about to stand on a stage as the face of what might be their only salvation. The night of the summit, I stood backstage with the presentation notes in my hand. The hall was packed with investors, city officials, and reporters. Somewhere in the crowd, I spotted Emily's parents, faces stiff, their perfect posture betraying the storm beneath. 10 years ago, they wouldn't have let me through their front door. Tonight, they were about to watch me represent the only piece of their empire worth saving. When my name was announced, the silence was heavy. I walked to the podium, adjusted the mic, and spoke, not about legacy, not about prestige, but about the families I'd met in that pilot neighborhood. About children playing in safe yards, about parents who finally had affordable homes, about communities growing stronger together. I told the truth, and the truth was enough. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. Not polite, obligatory clapping, but genuine approval. Leonard gave me a rare nod of satisfaction from the front row. Emily's parents didn't clap at first. They just stared. Then, reluctantly, almost mechanically, they joined in, because they had no choice. The room had chosen for them. Afterward, investors crowded me, asking questions, making offers. Daniel sulked in the corner, ignored. Emily stood nearby, her eyes shining, not with victory, but with something closer to relief. Later that night, as the hall emptied, her parents approached me. Her mother spoke first, her voice soft and measured. "We misjudged you. Years ago." Her father added, stiff as stone, "We need you." I looked at them, the same people who once treated me as though I'd never measure up. And for the first time, I didn't feel bitterness. I felt free. I don't do this for you, I said quietly. I do it for the people who need it. If you want to be part of that, fine. But don't ever think I'm here to polish your name. They had no answer. They just nodded and stepped back, smaller than I'd ever seen them. Emily stayed behind. You were incredible, she whispered. I met her gaze steady. This doesn't change the past, Emily. But maybe it changes the future. She smiled faintly, as if that was enough. And as I walked out into the night, I realized something I never expected. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right.